guys, so your doctor may have told you that you're getting an MRE and you might have said, excuse me, do you mean an MRI? And then they said, no, an MRE. And you may have thought, what? So what is an MRE? An MRE stands for magnetic resonance enterography, and it's a type of imaging test. It's similar to an MRI. It's used, like the same machine is used, but it's a type of imaging test that lets your doctor see a detailed picture of your small intestines. And this can help to pinpoint inflammation, bleeding, and other problems. And so you might also hear it referred to as MR enterography. So your doctor might use this to help find internal bleeding, areas of irritation or swelling, abscesses, small tears in the intestinal wall, blockages. It's a very detailed kind of test that allows doctors to see more than they might be able to see on just a CT scan. And this is often recommended if you have Crohn's or ulcerative colitis, or if they're suspecting some type of inflammatory bowel disease. So I'm not gonna lie, this was one of the less pleasant, more difficult exams that I had. And I'm gonna tell you why. Now, this is not true for everyone. Some people have no problem with this exam whatsoever, so I don't want to freak you out if you're going to have it. I just want to be honest about my experience, and I know that it is true of some people that this can be kind of a tough test, but for many people it's very easy. So it just kind of depends on your body and who you are. So the first thing that happens is you go to the office. Now, I had mine at nighttime, so pretty much every other part of the doctor's office was closed. It was just this imaging center that was open after 5. And so I went in, I filled out, the general paperwork that you do before you have any type of diagnostic testing or procedure. You have to indicate if you have any metal type of implants. Potentially there can be risks because it is a magnet with metal. So you just need to let them know if you have any of those types of implants, and then they'll help guide you as to what to do. So I filled out the paperwork, and then they brought me back to this room. With an MRI, you may have to drink or get injected with contrast, which may or may not be true in an MRE. But with the MRE, there's an additional step that they do to kind of get a clearer picture of your intestines and your digestive system and stuff like that. They brought me back into a room, and I had to drink this solution that would help them kind of see what was going on there. Mine was called Breza. I don't know if they're all called that or if there's different versions of this drink. It's kind of a sugary drink. It doesn't really taste that bad, but you have to drink 4 bottles in like an hour. So you have to drink them quite quickly, which can be difficult. Now, luckily, the place that I have gotten this kind of testing done is amazing. They actually had a private room for me to do the prep in. This was kind of the prep. They also had me fast for like 2 hours before the exam, but the prep was to drink this solution. Not the same as a colonoscopy prep. Don't get scared. Totally different. It's just a drink. It's not a laxative. But like a colonoscopy prep, you have to drink it very quickly, which can make some people feel sick. So they had a private room for me with my own bathroom, which was great because most people who are there are getting evaluated for things such as IBD, and so generally you are having some type of bowel dysfunction. So it's really great that they recognize that you need to have easy access to a bathroom. And this particular solution that they have you drink can make you feel sick. And that was one of the big problems that I had. And it was so sugary, it was hard to digest quickly. So I had to drink it really pretty fast. And so I started to feel really sick. I was very nauseous. I was running to the bathroom, a lot of stomach cramping. And again, the hospital was lovely. They had a nurse that kept checking on me. They brought you heated blankets. They gave you this big fuzzy robe because you can get cold drinking the solution since it is cold and you're drinking it very quickly. After I drank all that, they brought me into the imaging room. They wanted to take some images without the contrast, with the prep in, but without the sort of regular imaging contrast first. And then they were going to take pictures they were going to inject me with the contrast through an IV and then take more pictures after that. So they wheel me in. Now, the other reason that this test can be tricky for people is for folks who are claustrophobic. So if you're claustrophobic or you get anxious in confined spaces, MRIs and or MREs can be challenging because you're in sort of this thing that is mostly covering you while they do the imaging, and you can't really move. If you move, then they have to start that series of imaging all over. So luckily that was not an issue for me. If that had been an issue, it would have just made the whole thing so much worse. I really get claustrophobic. I had never had an exam like this before, but I wasn't too worried about that. In most MRIs, you lie on your back. So you're looking up at the dome that is the machine that takes the images of you, and so you're looking up at an enclosed space, which can make people very anxious. The good news about this, if you're claustrophobic, is you're on your stomach, you're on your abdomen for the imaging directly, and so you're not looking up at anything, and it's really easy just to kind of close your eyes and try to zone out. It can be a little uncomfortable depending on where your cramping is to lie on your stomach, or maybe that feels better. Depends on who you are. I don't remember it being too much of a problem for me. The problem was more that I felt really sick and I was worried about having to go to the bathroom in the middle of the test. MRIs or MREs, if you've never experienced them before, because as I said, the machine is basically the same. It's a very similar type of imaging. The machine is very loud, so that's something to be aware of. They do give you earplugs, which definitely do help, but you can still hear it. It's definitely good if you can kind of close your eyes and just kind of go to your happy place or whatever. The noise can be a little unsettling. Luckily, though, they can talk to you through the screen and kind of let you know that everything's okay, let you know how long you have left, and you do have something in your hand that you can squeeze if you need them to stop, if something is wrong and you need them to stop. So you always have that way of communicating with them. So I got through my first series of images okay. They pulled me out to do the IV contrast. Now, they gave me contrast and they gave me another type of medicine. I forget what it was, and I honestly forget the purpose of it, but I remember she said this one can make you a little nauseous, which I was nervous about because I was already nauseous from the prep and from just being a sick person. And so she gave me that injection and I immediately thought I was going to throw up. I felt really, really nauseous. Again, not trying to scare you. I'm sure this is not true of everyone, but just to be prepared, I wish that I had been prescribed Zofran for asthma and nausea. I wish I had brought it with me so that I could do that. If it's something that you're worried about, if you get nauseous easily, you can ask your doctor to prescribe you oral Zofran that you can take, an hour or two before the test, or you can ask if there's a way that they can prescribe it so they put Zofran through your IV when they do the contrast. So I felt really sick, and then also I had to go to the bathroom. I kind of started to panic, and I was like, I didn't want them to have to start all over, so I just asked the nurse, I was like, is there any way I can go to the bathroom? I don't want to mess up the whole test, but I feel really sick and everything. And she went and asked the lab tech, and he said, absolutely no problem at all. We'll just pause here. You go, we'll come back, we'll start the imaging again. So that was really nice that I was able to do that. And I wasn't feeling great from all the medicine, so the nurse helped me walk to the bathroom and then got me back. After that, honestly, just getting up for a minute and doing that, I felt not great, but definitely better. And so I'd gone on the table, finished the rest of the tests. Again, if you've never had one of these, the test basically consists of part of the time where you just lie there and are still, and then and you breathe normally, and part of the time where you have to hold your breath for short periods. So they'll say, breathe in, and you have to hold your breath, and there's, a series of beeping or whatever, and then maybe 20 or 30 seconds later they say breathe out, and then a minute or two later you have to do the same thing. So it's like annoying, but it's not that hard. So then they wrapped up the test and I was good to go home. The problem was I felt really, really sick. So I ended up taking an Uber instead of going on the train, but I still felt really sick in the car. The good news is by an hour or two later, I had a little bit of toast and I felt much, much better. I hydrated myself. You have to drink a certain amount of water after that because to flush the dye out of your system. And so I drank a lot of water. I felt better. I was fine to go to sleep. So it wasn't something that lasted for a long time. It was just very unpleasant in the moment. I felt extremely sick. By no means was it as bad as an invasive procedure, anything like that. Just of the diagnostic testing, most of them aren't too bad, other than the colonoscopy, and this was one of the trickier ones for me. So the results from my MRE were all clear, negative for pretty much everything that I looked for. They didn't see any evidence of Crohn's at the microscopic level. The only thing they saw were some deposits on the liver that they wanted to look closer for. I will say I did a follow-up MRI, a traditional MRI for that, and it was so fine. It was so much better. I didn't have to drink anything beforehand. They just took the images. Everything ended up being clear on that. They weren't worried about the liver stuff. If you are getting one, please don't stress. It's different for everyone. And truthfully, as gross as I felt, in a few hours I was back to normal, which not that normal feels great, but I was fine. It wasn't a long last. It didn't make me sick for days or anything crazy. All right, so good luck to everyone who's having one of these. If you had confusion, I hope that cleared it up.